Hello, everyone, and welcome to Badminton Lights Out, a feature of the Badminton podcast. I'm Gronya.
I'm Justine, and let's dive into it.
On today's episode, we have a special guest on the pod. It is Mr. Jeff Tho. You should probably know his name as he is one of the hosts on the Badminton podcast alongside Henry. So if you didn't know, at his best, he represented Australia at the 2010 and 2014 Commonwealth Games in men's singles. And outside of badminton, he is a qualified dentist, has previously owned his own clinic, and is currently a dentist business coach. As well as being the current Australian national senior coach, he also does some uni dentistry teaching, founded Volant Badminton Wear, the Badminton podcast, and is also studying for his MBA. Oh, that's a long list of things that you're doing. He is a busy guy. So today we have him on the pod to interview him about his super high achieving nature and how he has managed to balance being exceptional at so many things while he competed in badminton and also now.
Welcome to the pod, Jeff. Whoop, whoop.
Thanks guys. Thanks, Justine. Thanks, Gronya. It's cool to be a guest on Blow. BLO. Yeah.
Do you prefer to be being interviewed or being the host?
I'll probably be the host because then I don't have to answer questions. I can just ask them.
Now, just a quick word from our sponsors.
As people who love badminton, we all know that it's not just about the sport itself. It's about the connections you make and the things that it teaches you as a person that you're able to bring to all of the other parts of your life. That's why we want to introduce you to the book Mirror of Magico, written by Al Liao, a former Taiwanese national badminton player who is as passionate about badminton as us. For those who love Harry Potter, you want to give this one a read, because Al has authored a fantasy story where 3 different characters with varying personalities go on a journey of adventure and learning, and they realize that things don't just happen to you, they happen because of you. And by being yourself and spending time in your dreams, you can conquer the evils and be the best version of yourself. So make sure you check it out. Mirror of Magico, written by Al Liao. You can find it in all leading bookstores, and we'll leave the link in the podcast description.
So we're going to give you a bit of a warm-up. Our first question is, which match haunts you the most? Is that like a tongue twister? Which match haunts you the most in your badminton career?
There's lots of matches that haunt me, but I'd probably say the one that's the worst is back in 2008. It was against one of my good friends and a guest of the podcast as well in the badminton podcast, Rajiv Rai. He's from the USA, and I lost to him in my last match to qualify for the 2008 Beijing Olympics, so on my Olympic campaign. So when I lost that match 21-19, I was not very happy because that meant that I wouldn't have gotten a high enough world ranking to get to the Olympics. So I knew that it wasn't just a match on the line, it was the Olympic Games on the line. And look, the match itself wasn't that bad. I think it was just more what the match meant. And I do remember that last point. I do remember a lot of that match, actually. Yeah.
How did you lose it on the last point?
He hit a winner against me, but yeah.
Was there anything in it for him to win? Like, did he have to win for his Olympic campaign, or he was just like?
No, he already qualified. So he was out in front. But at the end of the day, it's when you get on court, it's war, right? It doesn't matter who they are. You're out there to beat them. So no hard feelings to him. It was just a bit of a nightmare for me.
In your head, were you like, please, mate, just like let me.
Yeah.
Were you in the match? Were you like super overthinking it because you knew what was on the line, or you were like,
no,
kind of
not too
normal?
bad actually. I think it was more the end of which
Just
didn't
after.
help, of course. Probably the end of the second set that it was on my mind the most.
Okay.
But I didn't feel like it made me concentrate less or anything. It was just when it happened, then it would kind of just, I just remembered, or I just realized what it meant again, even though I knew going into the match.
Well, that's a very interesting story and very heartbreaking. I actually just feel it. It's like, oh, ooh. So our main topic today, and the reason why we invited you here, and as you have already proven with your very long CV, how to prioritize things as a student athlete. So student athlete, worker, whatever, but pretty much how to balance your life. So let's start with when you played. Talk us through when you played and like how did you approach your dentistry course while you were playing?
So just a little bit of background. I won't spend too long on it. I always wanted to be an orthodontist. So an orthodontist being someone who, the people who don't know, it's kind of like a specialized dentist who fixes your teeth and puts braces on and straightens them and make them all look nice. I always wanted to do that, but unfortunately, when I finished my final year of school, I actually got into medicine and not dentistry. So choosing to do dentistry over medicine isn't very known of, especially in the Asian community where everyone just gets told to be a doctor. So I decided I didn't want to study medicine. So I actually deferred that year, and had to cope with a bit of backlash from a lot of different people saying that I was stupid in doing so. But what I did was I allowed myself to spend some time to play badminton and train and compete full time. So by the time that year came around, I did have a chance to make it to the 2008 Beijing Olympics. And I was successful because I had to redo another exam to get into dentistry. I was successful in getting in the following year, but I took 2 more years off so I could pursue badminton.
Wait, so is it harder to get into dentistry than medicine?
Good question. Yes and no. So in medicine, just generally, there's a lot more places. So there's usually a couple of hundred places. When I first applied for dentistry, there was like 30 or 40 places for local students.
I thought you got like crazy high.
Yep,
School
but everyone
scores.
gets crazy high who applies for dentistry.
So
and
you weren't
medicine.
high enough. You got like 99.95. What?
No, I didn't get 0.95. I got low 99s.
Low
Okay.
99s. Okay.
That 0.003.
But yeah, not good enough to get into dentistry first time.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So what age were you when you were going for that 2008 Olympics?
So I finished high school when I was 17. So it was when I was basically the year that I turned 18, 19, and 20 were the years that I was going for the Beijing Olympics.
Okay. So pretty much that time you weren't studying, you were more just training full time and like a part-time job kind of thing.
Yes. So part-time job because there was not much funding and training overseas. I used to work at Bunnings Warehouse. I don't know if anyone knows that, but Bunnings Warehouse as a checkout chick or checkout person. Now I can't say chick, can I? Checkout person. So
It's
I was the one
2021. You can be
greeting
whatever you want, Jeff.
Yeah, you can be a checkout chick if you want.
that's what I was. Back in the day, I was a checkout chick. Yeah.
From stories, you enjoyed that time of your life a lot, didn't you? Like young, free, not studying. You trained hard, but you also partied hard.
I don't know if this applies to you, but you know that young, dumb, broke, but you clearly weren't dumb. So
Yeah.
I was
This is the time in his
broke.
life when he could be kind of dumb. Yeah, saving his smarts for later on when all the stuff got intense at uni.
Yeah. No, it was a good part of my life. I think from a playing perspective, it was awesome to be able to do it full time. And as Gronya, you know, especially, so it was awesome to be able to experience that. But at the same time, I think the traveling was great and just the people that you meet. So I was talking about Raju Vai, and just the amount of people that you meet overseas and like in every single country that you go to, you know someone from that country. So you can just stay at people's houses, you can train with them. And it was really good in that way. And in terms of the actual Olympic journey and going full time, it's something that I think everyone who has a chance to do should do, regardless of if they make it. So I'm one of the failure stories. I didn't make the Olympics, but the people who ask me like whether I should have, if I look back, and whether they should do it, I say 100%. Even if you don't make it, it is such an awesome journey that that you won't be able to do any other time in your life.
Yeah, especially now with COVID, right? Like it's so hard to travel. So that would have been such an even more special experience to hold it in your pocket, your backpack.
Yeah, I guess so. It was a pretty long time ago, but of course at that point in time, like I didn't think that there would be a pandemic shutting down the world.
Yeah, for sure. So you deferred your uni, and then when you started that uni, were you still playing full time at that point?
So when I started uni, because dentistry is a very strenuous course, so we had about 30 contact hours per week on average, throughout all of the years of the 5 years that I studied. Initially, because it's a lot of theory and not actually clinics and seeing patients, I was able to train, but I wasn't training at the capacity that I was previously in the previous year. But I trained as much as I possibly could, and it was early mornings. It was 5 a.m. wake ups before uni to train, and then straight to uni, and then after uni going home and getting into the gym, or sometimes getting on court. So it was as full time as it could be based on the hours that I had. But I feel that because I spent the last 3 years full time, it was, I guess it's easier to maintain fitness when you've had a bit of a good backing of training behind it, rather than if you just start straight away and you're trying to fit it in with uni. I think it's a lot harder to get that fitness level up. So I found that doing uni was tricky and it was tiring, but the kind of the base level of fitness that I had did support me, even though I wasn't on the court as many hours.
Yeah. You mentioned that, you started doing early mornings for training and then do uni and worked around it. What did your timetable look like when you were a student athlete?
Just long days.
So
So you
like
train most mornings?
Yeah, most mornings. So 5 a.m. wake up usually.
what time did training start?
Usually training started at I think it was it 5:45? Yeah, 5:45. Yeah.
Did you have like a special routine to wake up like super early or before training, or now it's just like breakfast?
It was, because I lived in the dorms. So basically there was no breakfast there. So I didn't eat breakfast. I didn't have time for breakfast anyway. I didn't wake up early enough to have breakfast. But then, it would be straight after training. It would be rush back and rush back through peak hour traffic, get back to college or get back to my accommodation, I already took a shower at straight after training, but I'd literally just chuck my bags in my room and I'd get on my bike and then I'd ride to uni. And then I'd do my days of classes. And then depending on what I had that afternoon, so usually we'd finish uni at a normal kind of work time. So we'd finish at about 5 o'clock usually every day. And then it would just be whatever I can fit in there before dinner and then study after dinner usually.
Yeah.
Oh. Did you have any other training sessions after uni or no? It's just mostly.
Yep. So we're on court some days, but some days I couldn't make it because the court sessions were a bit earlier. So then it was just me going into the gym. So with the uni I went to, Melbourne Uni, I had a scholarship there for the gym and stuff. So they have a really good setup. So I'd definitely go to gym after after class, I'd go to the gym. Yeah.
And so during that time, was your focus more pivoted towards uni, or you were trying to kind of do both to your best ability, or did you have to kind of prioritize uni more at this point?
I think for the first 2 years of uni, I was trying to split it pretty evenly between, and you can probably see that by my uni marks. They weren't as good as they were later on in the course. But yeah, it was kind of a bit more split between them. And after, I guess, Commonwealth Games, so the 2010 Commonwealth Games in New Delhi, then I would have been in third year university after that. And from third year, there's a lot of clinics. So then that's when the focus became a lot more about studying than badminton. Yep.
When you were in that time where you were kind of splitting the badminton and the uni, as someone that is really high achieving, how did you take, your marks slipping? Like in your head, are you just content with it because I'm not giving it my everything, like I'm trying to do both these things, I can't do it to my best ability, or were you like, I really want to be the best in the class kind of thing, but I can't do it? Or did it get to you?
Never content, Gronya.
Never content.
I don't know, I think that's one of my problems now.
How do you
as well.
sleep at night?
I'm not ever content with it. Like if I do something well, I kind of just shrug it off and say, okay, let's keep moving, and what else do we need to do? So yeah, it wasn't really content. But I think the biggest part of it comes from learning how to study. Well, this was for me anyway. So coming from a course that is so demanding in terms of 30 hours per week, and we've got so smart people in my cohort. So they're just the brightest of the bright, right? So I obviously competing against them is difficult. But so first year I was kind of I was just studying and doing what I thought I should do. And it was only in second year, probably mid-year through second year, where I actually worked out how I best study and how, like, in first year, I would just get the lecture notes and I'd write on the lecture notes, the notes. And then when it came to exam period, I'd look through them just like a lot of other people. But what I found in second year is that if I was able to type up my notes straight away, or the day or the weekend after the actual lecture itself, then when it came to actually studying for exams, I had one document for each subject, and it just had everything literally that I needed in it. And it was so much more easy to study for me. So that really helped me. And I guess so I was always studying though. That was, if you ask my friends, they're like, "Oh, you're going to go study again after dinner?" And they were just mucking around and stuff. But yeah, I would, and I would make sure I studied every single day, so that it was just like bite-sized pieces every day, just a few hours. It wouldn't be like I'd stay to 2 a.m. It would be maybe like 8 to 10. So a couple of solid hours of studying, but every single day. And then by the time it came to exam period, it would just be like, I've got literally everything in one spot, and it's so much easier to find. So I saved a lot more time in second year when I worked that out, and that translated well into the third, fourth, and fifth years. And then in terms of studying, and then you're talking about results, Gronya, my results did definitely get better in third, fourth, and fifth. I was like top 5 students of every year in third, fourth, and fifth year. And that was more related to, yes, the studying part, but 2, when you go into the exam, especially in a medical degree or dental degree or any kind of uni degree, there's so much regurgitation of information. So it just rote learning a lot of different things. And what I found is that when you go to the exam and you see a question that relates somehow to what you studied, you would just literally spew a bunch of crap on the page, because like, I'm going to show the examiner I know this, and I remember this stat, I remember this, this, and this, but it actually doesn't answer the question at all. Right. So from third year, I actually started to plan my answers. So all of our answers, there weren't ever short answer questions. They were usually extended answer questions. So I'd usually spend at least the first 5 to 10 minutes of my question of the time to write, actually planning out every single question, how I would write it and how I'd structure it. And what happened was I actually wrote many pages less, but I ended up getting many scores higher. And then I kind of look around to the other students who are doing the exam, and they're literally doing what I used to do, which is just writing every little word that came to my head. So I guess
one of those people.
Yeah,
I'm just like, this might relate.
Yeah.
Had that as well.
I remember doing one exam question where I started to do that, and then I actually just crossed it out, and I just wrote a note to the examiner. I said, "Sorry, this isn't answering the question at all," and I just started again. And that was probably one of my best exam results as well.
Yeah, you pretty much answered my question. I was going to ask you, like, what are your study tips? But it's so true. One of also the tips that my lecturer gave us was like, if you can manage to explain it in a shorter sentence, it shows more of an understanding. Like it shows your lecturers or your markers that you understand the concept instead of just like blabbering. They even accepted like, if you can just like bullet point it, then we'll know you understand it. Like it doesn't, like the more doesn't actually mean the better. You just have to show that you understand. So that's really good tips. And then like and
double space as well.
Yeah. And also did you ever have reading time before you go into an exam?
Yes.
Yeah. That was so valuable for me, because I was like, okay, I have to read and understand the question. And in my head, I'm like, this is how I answer it, bullet point. And then it was so much easier. Did you ever like pick which question you were going to do first or not?
Yeah, in reading time, definitely, because sometimes you choose.
Yeah.
But I had this weird ritual actually from third year onwards, when I started to go better, is that every time I would go in and then I'd start the reading time. I would read through all the questions, and then I would literally, we were in a big exam hall. So
did you use your nail?
No. I would literally just walk to the toilet at 1 kilometer per hour. I just walk there, and I didn't even know I'd need to go to the bathroom, but I'd just think about the exam questions, and then I would wash my hands. I would do something in the bathroom. I wouldn't need to go to the bathroom, and I'd just walk back really slowly because reading time is like 15 minutes. And what I found that for me was, it was really good to not stress it, because when you're sitting there and your pen is sitting in front of you, you're just like, I just want to write already. And I'm
Yeah,
like,
because
oh,
you're
what am I
not
gonna
allowed to
write?
touch
And
it.
yeah, really stressful. But what I found is when I did that and I walked back to my seat and then writing time started, I already, do you know how I said I planned my answer? I already have a bit of a plan in my head. So I'll just write my plan down as the first thing and then I'd start going. And I felt that really calmed me down for my exam. So that's what I did literally every single exam.
I feel like I would be more stressed asking for permission to go to the toilet, being like in this big hole, like, can I go? I'm just gonna sit here
you
and
get
pee my
followed?
pants instead.
Nah,
Yeah,
you
you have
get
someone
followed.
that accompanies. Oh, don't they accompany you?
No. But there's someone outside sitting outside the toilet.
Okay.
It's easy walk in and walk out.
Last question. Back in your badminton student days, what do you feel like were some of the biggest sacrifices you had to make? Like, obviously, you made this choice to excel in your schooling and your badminton, but do you feel like you missed out on anything or have any regrets in the way you approached that time of your life?
Yes and no. So I guess the general sacrifices that you usually make as an athlete are the time, right? So the time that you spent training, the time that you have socializing, etc. That it is limited. Even though I was in college, so it was easy for me to socialize because I'd literally walk out to my room and I could socialize a lot easier than now in COVID when you can't actually see anyone. But in terms of the sacrifice, I would probably say the missed opportunity for London. That's also something that haunts me a lot because when I was trying to qualify for Beijing, I was 20. So if I tried to go for London, I'd have been 24, which in a men's singles age, especially from Australia or a non-Asian country, that's probably a better age time to be going. So probably the biggest sacrifice that I think I made against badminton, so this is for dentistry, is saying to myself, look, I need it. I want to do the dentistry, and that's what it's going to take. So that 2012 London Olympics, when that rolled around, and because when I was competing to get in the 2008 Beijing Olympics, it was very competitive between the other guy, Stuart Gomez, in Australia, and he was, I think, 9 years older than me when he was going for it. And then actually no one really from Australia went for it as seriously as we did for 2012. So if I went for it in a similar way that I went for Beijing, then I won't say guaranteed getting, but very, very, very likely to get in. Yeah. So when that came around, I was a little bit upset that, I don't know, maybe I should have waited for my chance, my 4 years. I should have waited till 2012 instead. But yeah, that's a sacrifice I made, and yeah, oh well.
Yeah, hindsight's a beautiful thing. One of the what's it called, the mentor or the coach, Alistair McCaw, that we had at some of our training camps, he said that there's no such thing as a sacrifice. Like, it's just choices. Like, you just made a choice. It's not like, you didn't have a say in it. You just chose something instead of something else, really.
Exactly. Yeah.
Now, just a quick word from our sponsors.
The Badminton Podcast is brought to you by Volant. Volant was first born out of our frustration with the confusing, bright, and unsightly clothes and equipment that we saw in the badminton world. But now it's so much more than that. Our mission is to accelerate the growth of badminton by providing players with products that enhance their love for the sport. All in all, it's high quality gear that makes you look and feel great on and off the court. So make sure you check us out at volantbadminton.com and follow us on our socials at volantbadminton.
Okay, so now that you no longer compete badminton, right? But you are still in the badminton scene. Oh, what do you do now? Like, for the listeners, what do you do now? And is your life still as hectic when you were a student, or not as hectic just yet?
It's probably more hectic now, unfortunately, because when you're a student, when I was a student, there was only two things: badminton and dentistry, basically. But now I have to manage Gronya and her expectations as a coach. No, just joking. But so part of the things I do in badminton is I'm one of the senior national coaches for Badminton Australia. So I do talk to Gronya quite a lot about training and do sessions with her on court when I can do them, when I'm fit and well. But other than that, so I have a involvement there, and then I also have the badminton podcast that I host with Henry, and also the brand Volant that Henry and I also have, and we grew from humble beginnings, and we're still very humble and very small, but hopefully more things to come there.
And then continue. There's like a million other things that you do.
Oh, okay. Oh, so I thought you meant only badminton.
No, just list off everything.
Everything.
So I'm a dentist. So I worked clinically in dentistry, so seeing patients. I bought and sold a dental practice. And after selling the dental practice, then I went into dental consulting or dental coaching, where we help dental practice owners, like I once was, with their businesses, to help implement systems that will help profitability and just help the business grow generally. So grow in terms of revenue, but grow in terms of staff, grow in terms of how the team works together, etc. And it's very much, I identify with the problems a lot, because I identify a lot with the problems that they have, because I had those problems when I was a practice owner as well. And so that's really enjoyable, and I know the industry well, which is really helpful. I still do some clinical dentistry, so I still see some patients, but not as regularly at the moment, because I am doing the role at Badminton Australia, and I'm also studying. So I'm studying in an MBA, or an executive MBA, and that's due to finish early next year. So hopefully in February next year, if I graduate, which I'm on track to. And then speaking of study, I also help at Melbourne University to teach dental students. So that's more just the hands-on. So I'm not a lecturer, I'm not a researcher. I don't think I could be, but just more helping them learn how to do things that a general dentist would do. So cutting teeth, filling teeth, and it all starts on plastic teeth initially. So it doesn't matter how much they ruin the plastic tooth, but the goal is to get them up to speed, so that when they start seeing patients, then they're competent, and their hand skills are developed enough.
Wait, how old are you? Are you like 50? It sounds like you've done so many things.
I am a ripe old age of 33.
Damn, you've done so many things.
The thing is that they're like all ongoing and simultaneous. That's what is shocking to me. It's like you're doing them all at the same time. You don't do like 2-3 things at a time, and then the next year you do a new 3 things. It's just like all simultaneously. So I would love to see a screenshot of like your Google Calendar with like 10 different colors and like 5-minute breaks in between. But no.
How do you organize this? Do you have like a timetable that you can physically see, or it's just all in here?
No, definitely on Apple or on Google, or like a calendar. There has to be, otherwise I won't remember. I probably will remember, but there will be things that I definitely do forget. So I live by my calendar. And
because every time I don't see my calendar, I'm like walking around, I'm like, am I supposed to be doing something right now? Like, I always feel really skeptic. I'm like, I feel like I should be doing something, but my schedule says no. So
yeah. So definitely the calendar. And then I consolidate my days. So I try to make sure that there are certain jobs, like say with Badminton Australia, where things will pop up every single day, weekend, weekday, anytime. So that's a little bit different. But say with like my dental coaching, of course, clients will contact me whenever they need to, and I'll reply them when I can. But the actual structured part of it, I'll structure on certain days, and then my week will be made up of those as certain days. And then there'll be I'll schedule a study day, at least half a day or a good day of study per week. And then on the weekends as well. So it's very regimented. And if it's not in my calendar, then it probably won't get done.
And like, so having such a hectic schedule, right? I feel like you've managed your time and your physical well-being and what about your mental well-being? Do you feel stressed when like it's late at night? Do you have trouble sleeping where you're thinking like, oh shoot, I should have done that? Or do you just like zen and you just go straight to sleep because you're so tired?
I don't usually have problems going to sleep. I think it's more that there's kind of like a fine line. So if there's too many things, then I do get stressed, and it's really hard to manage. But then at the bottom of that, there's like the middle zone where it's okay, where everything's okay. It's busy, but it's okay. But if I go below this line, then I probably get stressed as well, because I think, what am I doing? Like, what am I doing with my days? Like, what can I be doing better? Like, why am I wasting my time? That's when that kind of comes in. So it needs to fit within that pretty narrow range of
Yeah. Do you ever feel guilty to not do anything?
Yeah, 100%.
You never have days where you're just like, yeah, okay, today I'm just gonna stay in bed.
Like, yes, but it would be it could be like a scheduled, like it would be scheduled. Like I might not put it in my diary, but then I'll know that like the week or the day before that
Yeah.
I've been really productive, and then I'll kind of
You'll
convince
block it
myself
off.
that
You'll block it off.
I'll block it off. I'll convince
Yeah.
myself that it's okay to
You
take
did it,
that
yeah.
time. Yeah.
I always do that. I'm like, order cupcakes, reward yourself. I think I once set my timetable or like my to-do list to Gronya, and she's like, I spot cupcakes.
Really?
But what I love about you, Jeff, is that you still prioritize your like health and that kind of stuff as well. Like you make sure you fit in your runs and you're doing yoga and all that kind of stuff, which I feel like some people that are in your position where they're so busy is that might be the first thing to go. So I think it's great that you still do that.
So I think it's always hard to start. Like if you're in something, you're studying or you're doing work, it's hard to stop it and go exercise. But when you're in it, it's just the best thing in the world. Like,
do you do it at the start of your day or at the middle or after?
No, usually in the afternoon or towards the end of my day. I find that the start of the day, unless it's super duper early, then I feel like it's the productivity should be spent. This is just me. The productivity should be spent doing work or doing something like that that's going to require a lot of brain power and stuff. But going for a run or doing yoga for me, it does require the focus, but it's more of a relaxing focus, and I don't need to be switched on. I can just, I don't know, feel through it. Like Gronya, like if you're a yogi like Gronya, then just breathing through every moment is, breathing like
be present.
Yeah, being present and I do a lot of my yoga practice except balances with my eyes closed, and that's just because I don't know, it just feels really good, and the breathing.
Are you good at it?
I'm okay, but range wise, my hips are terrible. My shoulders are better since not playing so much, actually.
You know when like the balancing when it's like one leg stuff and then your eyes closed. Are you good at those?
My balance is fine. It's just my range. So if I go into like half moon or standing split or something like that, I can get into them, but my range just isn't that good. But I don't usually fall over.
So anything else you want to ask, Gron?
Yeah. So I guess with some of the stuff you've mentioned about how, you're never content or you have that level of stress, that thin area in the middle where you're not stressed going to sleep. How do you kind of feel with, is that something you think that you need to work on, like celebrating things and trying to chill out, or you're like happy with how you approach these things? Not to get all like therapy on you, but just
100%. I think so. I definitely think I need to be better at disconnecting and taking time out. And I guess that's where my partner Sunny, she will pull me up on it, because I've got no choice I have to be off those things and off those devices when I'm with her, which is really helpful. So yeah, definitely. I think that it's healthy and also unhealthy at the same time. But at the same time, I enjoy it. That's the thing. Yeah. Like I enjoy sitting down and watching a movie, but I can only do that for a movie and maybe for a night. Like the next day I wouldn't go and watch another movie. Like it just doesn't feel good for me. Like I'd much rather, I could read or I could do some work or I could do anything. But I do enjoy getting things done. And I think that's also part of it.
Does this mean you don't binge any Netflix series?
Oh no, I do. I do when I definitely do. But it's usually
scheduled for a plane ride.
Scheduled, or it's like when I'm like, if I'm eating or something, which is bad because I tend to eat more because I'm just like, nom, 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 nom. And I don't really notice what I'm eating because I'm watching something. But yeah, usually it's usually at nighttime. Yeah. After a day's work, I wouldn't just start watching Netflix in the morning straight away. Like never.
All right. Well, I think we've taken a lot of things, a lot of study tips for sure, which I would value them a lot, because I actually enjoyed studying. Once I figured out how to study, it made life so much easier. Because I remember, like you said, in your first year, it was like, oh, I got to do everything. It's actually like work smarter than work harder in a way. Yeah.
As
So
cliched as it sounds, it's
Yeah.
actually right.
it's so true. And I think it also applies with like training, because you could be doing something like so for so many times at training and it's not actually the right thing, or I don't know, the approach isn't good, that it's not as effective in the long run. But yeah, life, we're going all Yoda on this.
Love Yoda.
Okay, so I think we have to work on wrapping things up. I think the listeners will know we're really good at improving things. Always pre-planning that fails. But anyway, we would like to ask you one more question. If you could relive one of your favorite matches in badminton, what would it be, or which would it be?
Oh, wait, I didn't think of this one. Relive a match. I'll probably say maybe not. Yes, my match, because I played really well and everything went really well. But I think relive the moment of, I think it was the 2010 Oceania Championships and Thomas Uber Cup. So we had that. We played against New Zealand, which, of course, the Australia-New Zealand rivalry is always there. But I don't think the Thomas Cup team from Australia had qualified for Thomas Cup finals in quite a few years. And then I remember we beat New Zealand. We beat New Zealand like 5-love in Thomas Cup, and then everything just went perfectly, and it was just more the team environment. So if I wanted to relive like something, it would be going back into that team environment and taking that victory, especially because it was against the Kiwis.
Rub it in, Jeff. Just rub it in.
Sorry, I know.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast, Jeff. It's been amazing to get some insight into your mindset and how you approach training, your life, everything you do. And we wish you all the best with your hip recovery. Probably should have mentioned that earlier, but you just had a hip surgery.
Not a replacement, just surgery.
Yeah, hip surgery.
Replacement. Hopefully your recovery goes well. I'm sure you'll be bossing it already. And don't feel disappointed.
He was telling me, I was like, did you take any time off? He's like, oh, like 1 day or so. But the meds are making me so dumb. Like I can't even do basic maths. I feel so dumb. And I was like, this is what we all feel like, Jeff. This is what the common people feel like. He's like,
I was literally reading a sentence and I just couldn't understand it. It was just a normal sentence.
Were you like reading it like 10 times and you're like, I still don't understand this?
Were you reading it left to right?
Yes, I think so.
Was it in English?
Yeah, it was.
Thank you for listening to Badminton Lights Out by the Badminton Podcast.
We hope you enjoyed this episode as much as we enjoyed recording it.
Don't forget to like, comment, and share this episode, available on all platforms. Follow us on Instagram. The handle is @the Badminton Podcast, no spaces, and Badminton Lights Out, no spaces.
And subscribe to our YouTube channel, Badminton Lights Out, and stay tuned for our next episode.